Today I'm going to be giving you some tips on how to become a conscious leader. The first step in that is recognizing that if you haven't had any training, if you don't reflect on your own behavior as a leader, or you don't accept feedback from others when they suggest that you might communicate a bit differently or do something that is more systematic or programmatic in terms of developing employees, giving feedback, having performance reviews. If you think I'm okay, despite these circumstances, despite never having any leadership training, it's very possible that some elements of your leadership is unconscious competent, meaning you know what to do intuitively or instinctually, and for some of the time, it works for you. But when you find yourself with employees who don't respond to your style, who need something a little bit differently, because you only have that one tool and you actually don't know why you're effective with some people, then you can't shift your behavior because there's nothing to shift to. You don't assess what the employee might need. Instead, most people who are unconscious competent in certain aspects of leadership and unconscious incompetent in others will end up blaming their employees for what's going on. An example is when a leader builds frustration because an employee isn't doing exactly what they want them to do, despite repeated instruction and communication and giving information, rather than shifting to a style that investigates, why the employee is either being insubordinate or the employee just isn't getting the approach and they're really not following because they haven't nailed down the tactics of the approach. That frustration builds, and the blaming of the employee for being stupid and not getting it can lead to an employee being dismissed. And the search for an employee to hire in someone who's the right guy or gal, someone who will just fit into that model so that the leader can still go along believing that they are competent. And I think, therefore, I am that fixed belief that I don't need to train, I don't need to develop, I don't need to do anything different because I'm okay, and it's the employees that need to do something different. We'll often be referred employees for coaching when it's in fact the leader that needs to shift their approach to managing the performance of their people and building a high performance team. So the first thing to do if you are a leader, not having a whole lot of training or no training at all, as we find most leaders that go into our Leadership Foundations program, they might have been in a leadership or managerial role for 9, 10, 14 years and never had any training at all. The first thing to do is to choose an area where you are going to go out and ask for feedback. Ask for feedback about how you're doing. And don't just accept, oh, you're fine. Ask for effectiveness, that assessing effectiveness and whether or not your approach, your communication style, do you give enough feedback? All of these are things that you need to know about. And then assess or just notice, is your mind open and receptive to the information that's being presented to you? If it's not, take a breath. Just take it in. These are not criticisms. These are suggestions for how to improve your performance. And becoming reflective, being able to tolerate the fact that you're not perfect, and nobody's a perfect leader. We're all challenged in leadership roles. We're all challenged as human beings. It is a part of being a human in that we experiment, we learn, we do it wrong, we try again, we improve, and then we get it. You see, we go through processes for development. It is not a one and done. We just don't read something and then decide that we're an effective leader. Those are a couple of things, but mostly it's looking inward after you've looked outward and asked for feedback, done a 360, for example, and looking inward to see what your barriers are, what you're protecting, whether or not you're defending your idea of yourself as an effective leader. Being unconscious competent or unconscious incompetent limits you. It is in your best interest to be reflective as a leader, become conscious and more authentic in the way you lead, develop, and grow your team and business. Until the next time, thanks for joining today. Bye for now.